Hello, welcome to another episode of the Richmond Big Footy Tigercast. It's trade week, and that only means one thing, getting our resident trade guru in, the man that you've all been pestering me to get on for God knows how long. I'm copping threats on Twitter, on Big Footy, everywhere. Tiger71, welcome to the show, mate.
Yeah, g'day. Mike, thanks for taking me on, mate.
No worries at all. Before we get into the trade stuff, we'll talk about a little bit of the footy stuff. It's been obviously a few weeks since we did our last show, which is the prelim final one. Some will say it backfired. Others, like me, will say we're allowed to have a bit of fun. It's our own show. But Look, there's no pulling punches. Collingwood were exceptional. They played a great game. I don't think many teams would have beaten them on that night, to be perfectly honest. We didn't turn up to play, and the Pies deserved to win. But then they fell short after a 5-goal lead the next week. So all's well that ends well, I think, in that one. And we managed to land Tom Lynch. And I think we may get the last laugh there. But no, disappointing to bow out at the prelim final, but no doubt from all the sort of interviews and stuff you see, the boys are going to be hungry and come back bigger and stronger next year.
No, I agree with you, mate. Look, the Frogs they played above themselves. We all know it. But I have to tell you, the world, see, when you do good things, Michaels, when you do good things to people, the universe has a way to reward you. Even when you have a great wrong done to you, and our great wrong was obviously on preliminary final night. Apparently reports guys had gastro, Lambert's ankle still wasn't right. We had players playing sore, but, credit to Collingwood, not taking anything away from them. They beat us, I wouldn't say fairly, but squarely they beat us. But then the universe looks down at people like myself and other noble Richmond supporters and says, you know what, you need a break. So what happens then? We get rewarded. Collingwood chokes a 5-goal lead, lose by under a kick. And even then, that was a joyous return of karma to us. But then it even gets better. Not only do that happen to them and they lose the flag and have to redo this all again without a bottom 4 draw to depend upon, they're going to lose Langdon to Sydney. We've got Tom Lynch, the odd other iron in the fire, and it's just beautiful. I just love it. I just love it.
It is. No, I think all of us were barracking hard for West Coast on their grand final. But
I felt dirty. I had to have a shower afterwards, but God, I was screaming for West Coast to get up, and I'm glad they did.
But look, end of the day, Pies made it and we didn't, and so they got a lot closer than we got. But no doubt we'll be back bigger and stronger next year, as I said before.
Definitely. Yeah.
The other big news of the off-season that we sort of kept hearing about, especially on Big Footy, was North Melbourne were set to land a couple of big fish. So far, they've landed a herring in Jared Pollock and maybe a bit of baits in, who's the other guy? Pittard?
Pittard, yeah.
Pittard,
which is, I think in Adelaide, in Port, is called Shittard. The guy couldn't hit a barn door if he was aiming for it with his left foot. Yeah, good on him.
He's got a bit of pace. And I read today that they're looking at getting Dom Tyson as well. And my mate sent me a text saying that Tyson would be a really good pickup for North Melbourne to actually try and collect the turnovers from Pittard from the back half. So that actually makes a lot of sense for them.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You get another medium-paced, slowish type player in the midfield. Cunnington will feel great because he's probably got someone who's faster than.
Yeah, he'll come second last in the time trial.
They're crazy down at North. You've got to love them.
But the name that was on everyone's lips for the Kangaroos, I mean, the North board on Big Footy were convinced by a couple of posters in particular that this man was definitely coming 100%, very similar to how Dusty was definitely coming 100%. Andrew Gaff just decided to do a bit of a last-minute backflip and wanted to stay at the Eagles. And I think good on him. I know he obviously feels very guilty for what he did, getting himself suspended, even though the Eagles won the flag. So that was no fish for the Kangaroos. They can keep fishing, boys.
It was fantastic. I read a funny quote. North couldn't get Uber Eats to come to Arden Street, and that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, that was very good.
Yeah, so it was great. Look, North, they're a minnow type of club, and they always will be. Their supporters very much mirror the leadership of the club. They're very slow in the mind, and very emotional base. You have to be when there's only like 18 or 20 of you and you've got to compete against, 50, 60,000 rival clubs. So I get that. I get where they're coming from. They're great. They've got a slowish side. They've got an aging forward, aging back line. Some real plotters in the guts. And what they think is to improve them, they'll just, pay way over. How much they're paying more than Lynch in their first 3 years for Polak than we are paying for Lynch, which is just so North. And then for steak knives, they get offered Polak. Now, you've got to ask yourself a question. If I was offering you steak knives, there's a reason why I'm offering you steak knives, is if you watched any of Port's games, and I have, because I like them because of Matty White, they remind me, a lot of Port supporters remind me of, if Richmond was interstate, would be pretty similar to them.
Yep.
Blue collar, big club, a lot of history. When they're the Port Adelaide Magpies, and they translated to the AFL. And they're very much similar to us. The only difference is we don't, we don't have sex with our brothers and sisters and mothers and cousins outside of that, which they do, but they're good people. But if you watch their games, they're really an offensive side. People call them this defensive side. They're not. They're a really offensive side. But what was killing them was when Pittard and players like Pittard would get the ball and they will stream forward, they were getting murdered on the turnover. So that's why they've given him for steak knives. He's 27, 28 now, isn't he? 26, 27, 28. Like yeah, he's not going to improve. Players are like horses. They hit a point in their development and it stops. And what the main aim is to do is to keep them there at that optimum level. Port 2016 he played above himself. So he's medium. He's been in the system, 8 years?
Yeah, it'd be about that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so 2015 and 2017, that's his medium line, and that's what North has got. Pollock, yeah, I like him as a player. He's not 800K for me.
No.
He's a tidy player, very light on, has no balls in the sense that if a hard ball jumps at him, he can't get it. But look, he will give them run, which they desperately need because they're as slow as anything. So good on North. Keep on staying the way you are.
With Pollock, and this is even when he was at Port, so this isn't even anything against North, but every time a team plays against them, all they have to do is make sure they sit on his left side because he hasn't got a right. And just force him. Yeah, and he's a pretty simple play when it comes to that. But look, to be fair to North, I think they are going to improve again next year. I actually really do think that, despite the crap we give them. I'm not sure how much the improvement they'll show, but it's still always funny nonetheless to see them not land another big fish.
Yeah, they won't make finals. They'll do what they did. They'll tease. See, Pollock reminds me of, you remember Greg Tivendale that we had?
Yeah, yep.
Tiva is very similar to Pollock in the sense that he's completely left-sided. Problem with Tiva, and I still love him as a player, he had a good tank. The problem is he had 100 left side. Everyone around him was left-footers. If you remember back in those days, we went through a period where everyone in the midfield had to have a left foot.
Yeah, it was Leon Cameron. It was about the same time.
And that's what actually crueled his game somewhat, because everyone knew you just play reach to beat reach, just play on, cover their left side, and you cut off a lot of their ball movement. If he had been playing for North now, it'd be a jet for him. So, Pollock, good player, but, would you pay Greg Tivendale $950K or $850K?
No, I can only imagine the thoughts of the Richmond Big Footy Board if we ever did pay anywhere near that amount.
Oh, beauty. But that's Pollock. Pollock is Greg Tivendale, 100%. Yeah. Same type. Just Greg Tivendale's a more handsome bloke. Because Pollock looks like he's just had a car accident. His face looks like it's made of Play-Doh. But, we can't all be handsome like him, Michaels.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far.
He does, though.
We'll push
Have a look
on
at
to
an image.
Yeah, no. We'll push on to some Tiger talk, but before we do, we'll just give a shout out to Tom Brown, who's probably listening after
Tommy
taking on a few of our tweets today. And to be fair, Tom, if you're listening, we aren't actually trying to troll. We actually do have information that Scully was at the club yesterday, and Tiger 7 will explain why very shortly. But before we get on to the new stuff, Tom Lynch, I know you don't do it for the Port, and all that kind of stuff, and I know I've made a bit of a conscious effort to make it known that you were the one with the inside word. August last year, you went on record, put your balls on the line and said that Lynch would be a Tiger.
Yep.
Not many people believed you. You cop criticism, I cop criticism for posting and running with it, but backed you in the sources you had, and you never swayed from it, and here we are. Lynch is now officially a Tiger. You must, feel relieved, but it was never in doubt, was it, as far as you were concerned?
Yeah, it was never in doubt, mate. 100% it was never in doubt. He was lined up from 24 to 36 months ago. Where I really started believing it was going to happen is when around about August, That's when I was getting. That's when I got told from the guy that I got the Scully news from. And he's rarely wrong. He rarely gives me anything, but when he does, it's generally 100% spot on. That's why I'm so adamant that he was at the club. I know, and I also got it confirmed from 3 other guys, and I also got it confirmed from an eyewitness who actually saw him. So I know that sounds really, really freaking. What's the word I'm looking for? Pathetic. I've got an eyewitness, but. Very newsy, but no, definitely. I know the guy that told me. I trust him, and he definitely did see him because he was at the club for the. Funny enough, the club had their superstore sale, and he happened to be there and did some other things there, and not just about the store related, and happened to bump into him. So I know, and he wouldn't lie to me, and everything he's told me. That's from when my main guy who told me that he was definitely there. I just put 2 to 2 together and said, yep, all right, I believe, 100% I'm going to go with it. And that's why I haven't bent. I haven't done a Tom Brown. You know what I mean? I don't put 2 to 2 together and just guess and just roll the dice thinking, okay, because, like, for example, Tom's stating that we're at salary cap's full, right? Any person with half a brain can just work it out. Why on earth would we have backloaded Lynch's contract?
Yeah, well, it's obviously to fit other people in because logically we have to because there's going to be 5 to 7 players leaving us via trade, delisting, whatever it might be. Yeah. So they have to be replaced. So money has to be available. And
let me give you a proof in point. Just look at the media articles and how Richmond was spoken about 2 years ago, right? Even with Dusty, when Dusty signed on, we weren't our cap wasn't full. Even when we got Preston and Curvis and all that in, our cap's not been like by that stage we're at 100% of our cap. So fast forward 24 months further, we've now got Lynch in. We're only paying him $500,000 a year. Now let's say we miss Lynch, and let's say we got a player for $500K. That's the only player we picked up. Some middle B, high C, low B grade player. Everyone will be saying, oh, yeah, Richmond's probably hunting for this person and should bring 2 or 3 in, right? Because $500K is nothing. Well, that's essentially what we've done. We've brought Lynch in for $500K. We've had, I think it's Leeds contract. We no longer have to pay that $250 or whatever it was reported. We haven't got Griffiths contract that we have to pay. We haven't got Hammer's contract we have to pay. The Yarrans one's finally finished, so that's off our TPP. There's a few others that I'm forgetting, but add all those together and just inject the 500 in cap for Lynch. Now people will say, "Oh, but Michael, you're being a bit too simple." Michael's it must be because of the re-signings we've done. Even if you look at the re-signings we've done, we've restructured our superstars who actually getting less than what they were getting before. So they're not actually getting more than what they were getting before. Jack's been on record that he's taken a shave, and so has Cochin and Rance from what they were getting before. And the reason why they're doing that because they wanted to have that buffer for next year and the year after. That if we do bring in a couple of elite talent, we have that buffer to reward our depth as it keeps on getting better. Reward our younger type players like your Lamberts and so on and so forth, that they start getting Riolis and start getting reward for effort. So, look, I trust the club. I'm sure they've got, and I know for a fact, and this is an opportunity if I can, Michael's about Brad Crouch. Can I just clarify that? Because some people have misquoting me. They're assuming I've said this because of that fake Twitter account. I can't control people that rip what I post, right? A lot of people, and I said all the time, we've got 2 Tiger websites. Every time I post something on one site, someone will claim it as their own and post on another site or post on Twitter and just change a few words and say that they're in the mail, right? I see it all the time. Now, when I mentioned Brad Crouch, I mentioned him 5 months ago. No one was talking about him. He wasn't even on the radar with anybody. But I mentioned Brad because I knew we were talking. That's what I said. I didn't say it was coming. It's 100%. But my mate who gives me rock solid info told me, yep, just keep an eye on this bloke. I think you guys are doing something. So I went with it. And what's good, Adelaide confirmed that Richmond did speak to them. Now, if you believe that Richmond would speak to Adelaide solely based on a Twitter rumour, I don't know. I'll give you another example that a club's done that. Most clubs ignore social media. They just get the job done. So I doubt it would be, oh, no, some random amateur Twitter accounts mentioned Brad Crouch, we must call Adelaide to find out, is there something we don't know? It just doesn't fly. It doesn't pass the common sense test. So just to clarify that, now, my mate, I'll tell this to all the Richmond listeners, my mate did say to me, and I actually posted this and people have just glossed it over it. And this was on, I think I told you Saturday week, yeah, Michaels?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I did. So He said to me, next week you're going to hear a lot of bad things about Brad Crouch in the rumour. Ignore it. And exactly what he said has happened. Everyone's done whatever they can to disavow. Adelaide went pretty strong on it and pretty vocal too. They don't normally do that. If it was a bullshit rumour, they wouldn't have gone on the media. They would have just ignored it. That's what they do. With all the other ones, like for Texas trade rumour that was doing the rounds a couple of years ago, they ignored it. For them to actually come out and dispute it and try to rubbish it just gave me some more confidence of what my mate has told me might be right. Now, am I saying it's going to happen? No. But 7 days, we've got 8 days left of trade week. We've got cap space. Anyone telling you does not understand list management.
Now, even you say we've got the cap space. Obviously, Neil Barmer's on Channel 7 tonight with our mate Tom.
Yep.
And Barmy pretty much come out and said that we don't have the cap room to bring in any more players. Now, we know we love Barmy, does a sensational job, but he's also very good at playing the game. So you think he's just playing the game?
Yeah. Seriously, Barmy was denying that he was speaking to Lynch and he got caught on film. So at the airport, Barmy would, and I mean this with full respect, Barmy would lie to his wife if it had to do something with Richmond List management. I'll tell you something, as a Richmond member of a long, long time, if what Nick Barmy said was true, I'd be driving chicken shit on the door of the club saying how badly could you mismanage our list by having our cap completely full, where we can only grow one position in the ground. We can't be flexible, and clubs don't do that.
It's pretty irresponsible to max your cap out and leave yourself no wiggle room.
And to make it public so everyone knows. It just doesn't happen. Put it this way, clubs that are maxed on their playing list or maxed on their salary cap, shed. Look at GWS. I told a few on the boards, I'm not sure if I ran this past you, I might have, but I told you what was happening at GWS was going to happen. I told you about 4 or 5 months ago.
Yep.
That's again from my mate that tells me that he's always 100% right. Is what's happening there. That's what happens when a club has to shed. They do things like Loeb is going, Chill is going.
Setterfield's probably going to go.
Setterfield is probably going to go. Scully is now being seriously spoken about as might be moving, and he's on $500K a year. Now, you could say to yourself, mate, that's a lot of money to have to be forced to shed just to be within the cap space. It slightly tells me that, from what I got told, that they might have been a little bit, it's probably the truth. But no, we're not at full cap. I refuse to believe it.
I do too. Especially because the cap keeps naturally growing year upon year as well, and all those players we freed up. And they've got to remember as well that when we were probably approaching Lynch, if it was happening that long ago, back then we wouldn't have factored in Hampson or Griffiths not being there. Potentially, they may have known they were going to retire. They may not have, but there's a good possibility that money was never in consideration to be freed up.
That's right.
And then you obviously got the players who are leaving, like you got Conker, Alice, Miles. I know they wouldn't be on mega dollars, obviously, but every cent counts. They'd be on at least maybe 250, 300,000 each. Maybe Conker a little bit more, given he played a lot more senior football.
Yep.
So it does all add up. I don't buy into it either that we're fully maxed out. I do believe that we obviously couldn't go and get another superstar. Scully's a very good player, but given he's missed maybe a year of football with his ankle injury, he's dropped back his contract, wants to maybe come home, kind of just adds up that, he may be gettable. So going back to Scully, just to piece it back together again, what you said before. So your mate with the info texted you in the morning saying that he'd heard about Scully potentially have done a medical at the club, and then your other mate who was at the club doing his own thing saw him later on that day.
It was actually the reverse. On the day that yesterday, I got told, you wouldn't believe who I've just seen, yada, 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 right, about Scully. And I've gone, okay, why would he be at the club? And, you start talking, look, not sure, definitely 100% he was here. I saw him. It was here. That's all that was said. And I said, okay, I didn't say anything. Because because I get some information from within the industry, a lot of people thought Scully and Sydney, there was some sort of toing and throwing. If Scully was going to go, it'd probably be more to Sydney than GWS, because Sydney were pretty keen. That was the rumours that were going around. But I just thought, he's staying at GWS. He's on 500K. Why would he move? So I just sort of moved on from it. But anyway, so I spoke to him last night. He told me. And then this morning, my mate, who I trust 100%, I woke up to a text, and it was said, Scully, 100% at the club, believe medical done. And I've gone, okay. So I've got two guys that don't know each other. They have no idea that I speak to either of them. One's a personal friend that does things in a corporate, so hence why he was at the club. And this has nothing to do with Richmond either, by the way. This is not inside sources like someone put on Twitter that I've got inside sources. I don't get any of my mail from the club. The club, to my knowledge, the players don't leak. You get the odd little thing from a guy that, from a couple of ex-players that I'm familiar with, but it's got nothing to do with the club. But things do outside the club. Most other clubs don't know what other clubs are doing, right? And my mate that gives me all the mail has done for about 3-4 years. I'm not going to sit here and go through my strike rate. People that follow me know my strike rate. Of calling out names well before the media, and they've all come to pass. I know that sounds really freaking cocky, but it's the truth. He's the one that I bank. When he tells me something, I refuse to disbelieve anybody else. I'll fight tooth and nail for him. And he told me clearly today that Scully was at the club and has done a medical. Now, I know John Ralph said, no medical's been done. That's fine. But he was definitely at the club. I asked another mate of mine who would know and can find certain information out, was Tom Scully in Melbourne yesterday. 100% he was there.
So there was varying Twitter reports coming back to my tweet saying that according to Tom's Instagram that it was impossible. Now, I don't have Instagram, but a few people who do followed up for me, and the reports that come back were either A, that Tom doesn't have Instagram, or B, that it was on private.
He doesn't have an Instagram. He doesn't have one. So he doesn't have it. And I think it was that guy that I thought was Shane Warne. Like, I'm not big on Twitter. I've never been big on. I'm doing this more to. I actually really started Twitter really out of respect for what you do, Michaels. That's why I did it. And it's just exploded, right? So I don't even know. I hate that character limit because you know me, I'm a talker. Yeah. I try to type, and I have to do like 3 multiple posts.
I saw that today. I did see that.
I don't know how to. I don't know. Is there another way I can do a big thing without doing one after the other? Please educate me. But you're going to get people saying, all I know is the truth. This is the thing. I only share what I believe is true. This year's been a little bit different because I did ask the guys on the big footy forums, do you want me to go early before I can 100% verify? And they'll, yeah. That's why I went with Brad Crouch early. I knew he had contacted his management. I knew it 100% as right, but I didn't know what the result was, so I went early and proved right. Now, I'm going to tell you a couple of things after this, which is I know it's happening. Media hasn't spoken about it. People are going to go on Twitter and explode saying that I'm full of shit and all that, but that's all good. I'm a big boy. I can handle it. But this is what I believe to be true. This is what I believe what our game plan has been, and this is what I'm going to give you an agenda A and agenda B. And you guys who are hearing this and girls, just absorb it. If I'm full of shit to you, then just move on. If you believe something what I say might pull a cord because you've heard something from someone that you might trust that it goes, oh, no one else knew that, but now Tiggs has just told me this. That's generally how it works. Sorry for that preamble, mate. I just sort of went off a tangent there, didn't I, Michaels? I apologise,
okay.
Mate. So I had the 2 separate sources that told me. Then I asked a third one and confirmed to me definitely that Scully was in Melbourne, right? Now, I got confused. I heard the Hogan stuff, and I had a thought Hogan was – what I got told was Hogan has been at the club to see our doc, right? Because the Melbourne doc was unavailable. Now, I confused that as being all yesterday. Obviously, everything was caught up. And unlike all you guys and girls, I work for a living. So I'm trying to give you guys as much info as I can by doing this all on the bloody mobile. That's why I've got big fingers, ladies. You know what they say about guys with big fingers. So I hate my mobile, my smartphone. My fingers are too big, so hence my grammar and typos are rubbish. But as I'm only posting the phone. But yeah, I said include Hogan. Hogan, I don't believe was there. Might have been the week before or prior to going away or whatever it is. But I know. But I got told that he's been at our club, and I'm assuming it's for a medical. Some medical advice because our doctor's quite elite and just doesn't service Richmond players, does other players. So that's how I threw that in that tweet before. But I can 100% tell you guys, 100%. Richmond spoken to Scully was at our club. The only reason I can think was at our club, and he wasn't there just to say good day to people because none of our players are there, is to do a medical. That's the only logical reason I can think of. I've got another guy who I rate. I don't want to name. Well, I haven't asked his permission. Can I name drop him? Oh, stuff it. He can cry about it in PMs. Tiger Bob on our forum. I rate him. Him and I go way back. He generally doesn't like to do on the boards because back in the old days we used to get ripped to shreds, and he hasn't got the patience I have. But he's on the same page as I am, and we're trying to verify about the Hawthorn rumour that when he was saw us, he also saw Hawthorn. I'm waiting on a call back, but from my instinct, because I've been doing this a while now, I think there's something to do with Scully and Hawthorn as well. Would have seen him when he saw us. Now, this is what I want to put Tom Brown to task. Can I, if you don't mind, Michael's going to know I'm doing all the talking.
That's okay.
He needs to stop guessing. Now, Tom, I know you're guessing, mate, and I know you haven't rung the club, and I know you're talking up your chat with Neil Baum, and yeah, great. He's just telling you what you want to hear. You've linked Hawthorn. The only reason why you've linked Hawthorn is because Shield rejected Hawthorn. Lynch has rejected Hawthorn. And you've gone, okay, well, they must have huge cap. They must be going for Scully. You've got no other proof, no other evidence, but you're running off with that. And it's a shame because I don't understand why guys like you have a job like that and people believe it. It just astounds me. I should go in the media, man. Seriously. Michaels, can you picture me on Channel 7?
Oh, it'd be brilliant. I'd tune in every week.
Mate, it'd be sensitive. I'd just do a couple of bombs.
Wouldn't be much of a TV show. You wouldn't get too many minutes in.
It'd all be beep, beep, beep. But it's funny. Tom Brown, he makes me laugh. Like today too, like he brought out a trip and then he sort of tweet that there's nothing in Scully. Richmond's he's got our Excel spreadsheet. My God, don't try to keep on talking yourself up, Tom. Just be who you are, mate. Just be who you are. So, sorry.
Just to add on to the Scully thing. So we obviously were inboxing this morning about it, and then someone at my work who knows someone in the coterie groups at Richmond, he's like, my mate heard that Scully had come in. He heard it from within the club. I'm like, oh, okay. So I just heard that 20 minutes ago as well. And he obviously doesn't know that I know you and all that kind of stuff. So
I didn't know that, by the way. That's good to know.
Yeah. So it is. And I think I put on Twitter myself that probably I've heard the Scully being at the club from about 3 or 4 different people who don't know each other. So it's kind of like one of those where there's smoke, there's fire situations, I think. And I think people just need to also realise that not once has you or myself or anyone said that he's definitely coming across. It was just the fact that he's been in the club. It's probably somewhere inquired about. And it's as simple as that. Whether we get him or not is a whole different thing. A lot of it will obviously come down to GWS's cap space. Maybe they free up enough money after Shield, Setterfield and Lobb go. Who knows? But even I don't want to... no, Grocodog did put his name to this on the board. I'll drop him in it. I know he's listening as well. But even he inboxed me a few weeks ago mentioning Scully, that we had spoken to him and he expressed interest in us if he were to have to make a move from GWS because of their cap issues, that we were a club of interest. He did support us as a kid. Multiple people are hearing this from different sources, and it's one of those things where not everyone can be wrong. And like I said, it doesn't mean we're going to get him, but I think we've given ourselves a chance. And I do believe we've got a bit more cap space than people think.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, mate. And look, that just fills me, not fills me with pride. It just makes me more confident. Actually not more confident. I can't be any more confident. This is the thing what people, it's a blessing, but it's also a curse. You either love me or you hate me. Because if you've got my trust, I'll back you 100%. But I can smell bullshit a mile away. That's why when John Ralph, and the media has really disappointed me. Like, I like John Ralph. I still think he's a closet. He says he's a Tiger supporter, but I reckon the guy supports multiple sides. I don't know. It's just an instinct I've got. But, You can tell they haven't checked. They haven't fact-checked. If they had of, the club, unless the club is lying to them, it could easily be proved that he was at the club, right? And then you ask yourself the second logical question. So they haven't bothered to do that. They've just gone off fly-by-night. Oh, what I heard. Look, John Ralph put out a tweet that, the Scully camp. As soon as he used the word camp, I know he hasn't spoken to him today or hasn't chased it up. He's just put camp because that's what they've been saying about Scully and just kept on with the narrative. But he loved doing, I call him the fence sitter. He loved having a hedge bet each way. Oh, but never say never. You know what I mean? It's just really disappointing our quality of our football journalism that's in relation to, gossip and, true rumours is so weak. Because I know in America they do it really, really well. They have like a whole social network that really drives stories and can find quality stuff. Unfortunately in this country with the AFL we don't really have that yet, which is disappointing.
No, no one's really held to account. And look, if the Scully thing proves true, and if by some miracle it comes off and he ends up at Tigerland, Twitter's going to go off. I can assure you of that. A couple of other Tigers we'll talk about just quickly. Sam Lloyd was obviously touted to go to the Bulldogs pretty early on in trade week, but nothing's yet to happen. You got any thoughts on why that might be the case?
Sorry, I've just clicked on our boards and stuff.
Don't click on it when we're coughing.
I didn't know it was live. I didn't know. Jesus. So this is live. Like they can hear me right now.
Yeah, they can hear you right now.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, Al Heimer, you're a legend, mate. He's put Chuck Norris gif is a gun. Absolutely. I'm a closet Chuck Norris fan. Did you used to have arguments about Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris?
No, not really. Not with my friends. No, I think we were kind of all more brought up on the Chuck Norris era, to be honest.
Yeah, you're probably like Natural Disaster. You're more of a pie versus ninja arguer. Yeah?
No, not necessarily. It's still like Chuck Norris goes all right. There's always endless memes and jokes with him anyway, so it provides a lot more entertainment.
Well, look for me, it might come out. It should come out soon. I'll be gobsmacked if it doesn't. But when it does come out that Tom was at the club, that'd be justification for me. You think Twitter will go off? I won't lose my mind, but I'll make sure I give a serve to a few that have denied him being there. It was definitely there, 100%. He was there. Will that mean it will get done? I don't think so. But I'm jumping again because I want to spill some hot news that I've heard. But you asked me a question then, and I've completely missed it because my wife's arguing with my son in the background.
Yeah, no, Sam Lloyd was obviously named to go to the Western Bulldogs, but it hasn't happened yet. Is there any thoughts onto why that one hasn't gone through just yet?
Mate, you can see why you're the host. You're the host of this show, bud. Good segue. Okay, from what I heard, now I got this off. I've heard this for the past 3 or 4 days. I got told that just prior to trade week that I got told Tig71. I keep wanting to say my name. Tig71. Lloyd still won't go as quick as you think. Miles and Ellis was pretty straightforward, but we all know, everyone's known Lloyd's going to the Bulldogs, so why hasn't it happened? Right. So, guys, ask yourself, why hasn't it happened? And I'll tell you why. At the start of what I got told, which I believe, our trade period was us. We wanted to lock away Tom Lynch, which we've done. We've gone to all clubs and said, we need this type of player. And we've dangled some tasty bait, which is either first this year or first next year, and waiting for the clubs to bite. That's one reason for the delay. The second reason for the delay is some of the players that we had identified, obviously we haven't been able as yet to get across the line. For example, like Brad Crouch, for want of a better example. So we've now got Tom Lynch, but if people seriously think we're not doing anything else, they're dreaming. Now, when I say that, we might not get anyone else, but we definitely are doing other things. So what I heard, which is there was a really strong push about Dunkley. Guys on the boards would know that. I thought, his name's come up a few times, but I didn't give it much merit. I didn't even give it merit enough to actually post about it, even though in some private conversations I was having, it was coming up and I was just chewing the shit with it. But I had my main guy who, when he shares me stuff, but he does it rarely, is 100%. He never said anything about it. So I sort of let it slide. Then I started getting a few nods. Definitely interested. But then it got cool. All of a sudden it just got closed down. And I thought, okay, Instead, obviously, it's not going to happen. What I got told is, but Lloyd is still not being done. So I asked a few questions around, and the guy that I trust fully, the reason he believes it's not being done, and again, keep in mind his view is because it's outside the club, but he's been doing this for many, many years, and he knows how things play out. He's got a sense to it, and from the rumours going around is, we all know about Wingard and Port. Port's got some problems. They're trying to clear it and fix it, hence they're releasing some of the players that have been there a while and have not been able to move on. Anyway, we all know about Wingard. So I'm not talking about that being exclusive. And he's making a decision in his mind if he's staying or if he's not. Now, Western Bulldogs, we all know, common knowledge, is right into him, trying to get him across. Their problem is this. Port's just done a deal with North, which my mate actually had told me about. They need a higher draft pick. See, Port's trying to get some of that South Australian talent pretty desperately, so they're trying to let it climb as high as they possibly can. So they wanted pick 11 and they got it. And they've got their other pick. I forgot what it is, just top of my head. Pick 11 and 10 and 11, I think. Is that right, Michael? So I'd have 10 and 11.
I'm not too sure. I don't really care about Richmond, to be honest, when our picks are.
Yeah, true. So what's basically happened, I'll give you the short version. We're in play. We've want to facilitate. We're also in play with Kelly DeFrio to see if there's anything we can do about that young mid I was telling you guys about. I still haven't given up hope on that, seeing if we can sort of position ourselves. But from what I got told is we're holding Lloyd because we want to get involved in that trade. And the reason why we want to get involved in that trade is, it was a lot more convoluted, and I don't have the notes in front of me, but just picture a scenario of, let's say, Bulldogs has got a really high pick. They move that pick onto Port. Port then moves Wingard onto Western Bulldogs. There might be a need for Western Bulldogs or Port to swap picks, but Bulldogs want a higher pick. So we give them our pick as well, and Lloyd, and we get a quality mid in return. Now, it's not Libba. I actually had a couple of people ask me about Libba. I literally just don't know. He's a strange cat. The noise on them is most clubs, like Bennell, are really wary. I think he's definitely being shopped. I think he might stay as a dog because of a lack of buyers. Bennell's another one. I think we're completely burnt off Bennell. So we won't be interested, because obviously the stuff we know. But again, you never say never. But it's not Libba. There's some quality mids. I'm not saying Dunkley, but there's a high quality mid at the Dogs. There's a couple of them that if we can leverage one of them out, that's going to cost us what, 250, 300, 350k a year. We'll go for a younger mid and it might not involve our first pick. It might involve Lloyd and one of our other picks. But that's the reason why Lloyd's not being done. We're trying to do something with the Dogs. Now, the actual details, I don't know. I'll be guessing, and I'll be sitting here lying to you, so I know the full details. But my mate said to me, watch this space in relation to the Dogs and us. But if that obviously falls through, then it's just you would assume it'd just be a straight swap with a couple of picks, either or. And Freo, we've identified a Freo kid. I'll say the name now. I've been holding it off.
I was going to say, you haven't mentioned the name yet. I don't even think I know who it is.
Yeah, why I don't is because I like to, particularly when we're talking about kids, I like to protect them as much as I can, but it's going to come out. Where did I put it? He's a bull of a midfielder, but Bradshaw's taken his spot.
It's not Shearer, is it? Because he just re-signed.
It's not Shearer, no. It's we rated him in our draft year, but got Menadue in front of him. I've forgotten what his name is. See, I don't really big into kids. That's another reason why I don't bullshit you. When I come out with a name, it's because it's been told to me. I don't really know kids at all. I just fall in love with our players, and I couldn't give a shit about anyone else.
That's right. If you think of it, you can tweet it or post it after.
I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to find it for you because it's going to do my head in. I'm getting there. Nearly there, Mick. Nearly there. Give me a sec.
Right. So this is where it'd be a good time where to sponsor. I could just reel off some ads or something like that.
Yeah, do that.
shout out to Sturge, who might be listening. He sent us a tweet today. He replied to our tweet claiming that he did start the podcast, but he had a bit of a pot shot at Tom Brown. So well done, Sturge. Welcome back to the board anytime.
Yeah, Sturge, mate, we're missing you, bud. Hopefully you're listening, mate. You're a top mod. So don't let posters like Tiggs 2010 get you down, mate. Absolute clusterfucks. You're better than that, mate. And we know RFC 74 is a closet. I actually think he might be Snake Baker, really. I reckon they're both dual accounts because his love for North, not love for North, is knows no bounds. Well, and Arts and Captain Blood 17. He sounds like a really good guy, but I swear his alt account is groin guru. That's my feeling.
No, Captain Blood's a good bloke, but
I can't find where I posted it. See, my problem is I mentioned him a couple of months ago when I actually thought about it, and I'm trying to go through this conversation that I have with a few of the guys that I've had since I started on the boards that we talked shop on, and they post some shit. They post some.
If you find it after, just post
I can't find it. But people know what I'm talking about. People know. Well, we picked him instead of we picked Menadue instead of him. It was in Menadue's draft. Anyway, that's one kid we're trying to work on, and it might be someone we can do to facilitate the Kelly trade.
Had a message come through. Connor Blakely.
Yeah, that's the one. Irish. I thought it was Irish. That's how I remembered it. Well, I thought of him. Yeah, I don't know if he's an Irish dude, but Connor Blakely. That's the one. That's the one that it kept on coming up. So I don't know if 100% that's coming out, but that was the mid that we've looked at and have identified he's a real talent about. So can we get it done? Who knows? But that's another one. But what I got told is if we don't get anyone that bites our first rounder, be it this year's or next year's or any of our pick, that's fine. We'll just go to the draft. That's always been our main intent outside of seeing what we can get. Because we have got plans in the fire. Now, what it is, I'll know after all the trade week starts to sort out in the new year, I'll drop you a name like I did with Lynch. I just want to make sure it's right first, right? I'm going to drop you a name, Michaels, for next year.
For next year, okay.
For next year, yeah. We're on a 24-month agenda here. We're not on obviously we've tried to push the timeline forward, hence this draft period, but we've always been happy to go to the draft if we need to. But there's another, and it is a mid. It's a big body mid, right? So I will drop that name to you. You know what? I'll make a few calls on it. I'll get permission first, and within a fortnight, I'll drop that name to you, mate.
All right,
and you don't tell anyone, right?
No,
don't even tell your wife. And just when his name starts getting mentioned, out of the blue, you can then go. I'll leave it to you to mention to all the guys that post it. Yeah, Tig71 told me this, and you can even screenshot the post, right?
Just to be clear, that doesn't mean everyone on the board can inbox me asking questions either. Cause,
no. Seriously, guys, just inbox Tiggs 2010. Inbox him for me. If anyone can. No, I shouldn't do that because the mods, and you're a mod yourself, you get upset with me. But just inbox him. Yeah, no, that'd be awesome.
That's right.
That'd be awesome. He deserves it.
The other name I want to throw out there's been on and off talk about Townsend. It was sort of hot early on that he was leaving, then it was sort of off the table. Then I've read various things again that he may be looking elsewhere. Have you heard anything on Townsend? And personally, I'd like to keep him, to be honest.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I told you when everyone started saying, I said, no. He wants to stay. We would love to keep him. See, the thing is that, and this is again reinforces everything I'm saying, if it was as cut as dried as Tom Lynch, salary cap for, we're done, Townsend would have been re-signed because he's on biscuits. But he's happy to be on biscuits. Why? He gets paid more than he is as a carpenter. And he loves the club and the boys. Right? So, and when I say biscuits, it's not biscuits to you and I, mate. If I was earning 110K or 100 grand, I think there's an award wage you have to pay after a certain period in the list. So he'd be on 200, 250. I love that type of money. You know, I have to work my balls off to get just a little bit over half of that. So, so he wants to stay. We're happy to stay. Money's not an issue. But we can't keep him because we're not saying we can't keep him. We want to keep him. But we're still working out what we're working out. And we want to see if we can get off, if we can push our agenda forward 12 months, then I don't think we can keep him. Because then I would say we'll be like 5% off the cap. So we'll be at fully 95, 97% off the cap. And we'd have to wait for the next pay rise. And unfortunately, that's not this year. So Townsend just is a victim of it, which would be sad. But So, look, that Gold Coast talk, I know I've heard it. It could be a plan B, a plan C. But if he was going to Gold Coast Suns, he would have been traded with Miles and Ellis, Corey Ellis. So, yeah. No, my feeling is he will still keep him.
That's good to hear. Any other trade news there? I mean, the only other one that I'd like to know a bit about, but it's not Richmond related, so you may not have heard anything on it, is the Tim Kelly scenario from Geelong.
Yeah, no, I've heard a little bit about it because we're trying to get involved in it, but that's probably... They will move it. The Player Association has way too much power. They will force Geelong's hand. I reckon the manager's already come out and say if you don't trade him, he won't go to Freo because Freo's got a shit... manager doesn't rate Freo. That was a laugh when I heard that because I know Freo's heavily involved with Kelly, and West Coast is it's not that West Coast can't fit him, but they haven't got what Geelong wants. So look, it's just watch this space. It will get done, but how it gets done, I'm not too sure.
Okay, interesting. All right, well, is there any other trade talk that you think's worthy of throwing out there?
What I'll do, just so the guys know, I'm trying to BF is my home, always will be my home. So I try to do exclusives on Twitter and this. I'm not that type of guy. What I'm going to do is, like I did today, what I say on Big Footy, I'll copy paste it onto Twitter, basically at the same time. So you're both getting it exactly thing. But get prepared for Thursday, Friday, and the rest of next week, particularly the last 3 days, because that's when shit starts happening really fast. I don't think we're out of it. I think something will happen. I'm fairly strong and in my conviction that will be the case. Something will happen.
One of the boys, Sir Rancelot, just made a post on their podcast thread wanting to know, is there any more word about Brandon Ellis?
Yeah, see, that's actually... Rancelot's a fantastic poster. Thank you for that. Just to clear that up, when Brandon Ellis went to North, I tweeted that if the North thing is true, because I had no knowledge of it, and obviously that AFL trade guy's full of shit, but I know he's being shopped, and I know because a guy I'm associated with is friends with him and knows him, so as mentioned, is similar to that. I can't mention names, but he's being shot. But look, there's a likelihood he might very well stay. He's there's not really been that much interest on him, which is sad. But just watch his space with Brandon. I've just got a feeling if we want to get ex-player and we have a chance to do it like a Scully, would it mean that we have to let a Brandon Ellis go to a GWS, and will he do it? That's the unanswered question. All I know is that Brandon Ellis got told a few home truths in his exit meeting, and that's when all the trade rumours started about him. That were before that bullshit Twitter account that just picked North Melbourne at a random. Started talking because there was a bit of talk about Brandon before that. My gut's telling me there's something, but no one that like my main two guys that tell me something haven't said yes or no. They've said he's on the market, but, anything can happen trade week. So 50-50. I know that's not a real answer, guys. I'd love to give you something more concrete, but I'll probably get a lot more specific the closer trade week ends.
No, that's fair enough. I'd rather you do that than make up a bullshit answer just to keep people happy. That's much better just giving the truth. So,
or call it, or do a Tom Brown.
Yeah.
or do a Tom Brown. Draw the
dots.
Right,
well, thank you so much for coming on, mate. So just to confirm again for everyone who may have just tuned in a little bit later than the Scully info started, so you definitely did come to the facilities for whatever reason that might be, as you had an eyewitness there, as you like to call it, plus your mate with the info texted you a similar thing. So
first thing in the morning. And your inside source confirms it.
Yeah, and I had a couple of people actually as well say it. So we're all pretty comfortable and confident that Scully has been at the facilities, but whether that translates into a trade or not is yet to be seen. Yes, Barm come out and said that we didn't have the cat room, but Barm is a very, very good game player, and I think it's one of those things we wouldn't put ourselves in that much of a position that we couldn't afford someone else that would be irresponsible. But we'll have to wait and see, I guess. But I think we're definitely asking the right questions to the right players and trying to improve the list.
Exactly. So, perfect.
All right. Sounds good. I'll thank you so much again, Tiger71. And if you have any more updates, no doubt we'll get you back on before trade week's out.
Yeah, too easy, mate. Yeah, if there's anything breaking, I'll let you guys know. But yeah, and thank you also, Michaels, for the hard work you do, mate. Love it.
No dramas at all.
Too easy.
All right, thanks, mate.
And hold on. And did you notice I never said fuck throughout the whole time?
No, you did. You did before then.
Did I?
You did when we were talking about the posters or something. And you had a crack at one of them. Yeah,
sorry.
So
Was it during North? Because I really tried to
no,
roll
it
myself
wasn't.
in.
It wasn't.
No, I was proud of myself then. Yeah, proud of myself.
No,
okay.
Good. All right, thanks, mate.
Too easy, guys.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Richmond Big Footy Tiger Cast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and YouTube so you can follow all the roast and toast, the reviews and previews, and all topics Richmond. Also keep an ear out for our special episodes of interviews with past players. Go Tigers.